Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Mobley, and I am a lead educator here at Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium. I want to thank you guys for joining us today as we continue the month of July talking about ancient wonders. If you're new here, welcome. Along with our live streams that we do every month, we also offer a free virtual scavenger hunt that you can play right at home through our Agents of Discovery app. To download the app and explore all of our learning materials, go to www.wondersofwildlife.org/mission-conservation. On this page, click the box to the right that says get the app, hit that download button, and follow the instructions. Once you have that app downloaded, create a user account and log in. Always make sure that you're logged into your account to track your progress and earn some awesome rewards. After you're logged into your account, click the search bar and type in Mission Conservation. This is how you're going to find all of our at-home missions for you to play. Every at-home mission we create includes an activity guide that has a craft and a super cool outdoor activity as well. If you look a little bit further down on that Mission Conservation page, you will see our featured mission section. This displays our most current missions, like our Ancient Wonders mission with Agent Shark. Lastly, I want to bring your attention to the schedule of missions and activities. This section is going to show you all of our missions that are currently live. If you click that plus sign and drop down that tab, you will find a link to the activity guide for the month. This is where you are also going to find many of our partners' missions as well. Today, we are exploring Lake Tahoe. This lake is an ancient wonder within itself, being about 2 million years old and deep enough to cover the Empire State Building. Today, we have Justin from North Tahoe Public Utility District and Heather from the UC Davis Tahoe Environmental Research Center to talk to us today about the importance of Lake Tahoe and help us appreciate this ancient wonder and show us what we can do to help preserve this beautiful lake. Justin and Heather, how are you guys today?
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Justin from the North Tahoe Public Utility District.
And I'm Heather from the UC Davis Tahoe Environmental Research Center, and welcome to Lake Tahoe.
We're very excited to share this beautiful ancient wonder with you today. Talk a little bit about water conservation and stewardship of this amazing place. But we have something first, Heather. What are we going to show them?
Yes, we'd like to welcome you to Lake Tahoe by showing you a video that's a little bit about the lake and the research that's conducted here. And so we'll start out with that video, and we hope you enjoy it.
We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome aboard the UC Davis research vessel. Watch your step. Since the 1960s, our scientists have been taking measurements in Lake Tahoe. In fact, most of what is known about the lake has a connection with this boat. Nature has set the conditions for Lake Tahoe's famously clear waters. The lake was formed more than 2 million years ago when volcanoes erupted at the north end and a block of the Earth's crust dropped down, forming a huge valley, and water started to fill the lake. Since that time, earthquakes, glaciers, and huge landslides have all played a role in shaping both the mountains and the lake. One thing you need to know is that Lake Tahoe is big. Lake Tahoe is 1,644 feet deep, making it the second deepest lake in the United States and the 16th deepest lake in the world. A 140-story building would barely fit in it. Lake Tahoe holds up to 40 trillion gallons of water. If you took all the water out of the lake and spread it over California, it would cover the entire state up to your knees, and it would take over 600 years for the lake to refill. Now that is really big. Our friends at NASA have some great pictures of Lake Tahoe looking back from space. Did you know that Lake Tahoe was once one of the clearest and bluest lakes in the world? That's because there were so few fine soil particles and algae in it. These are what make the water of most other lakes seem cloudy. Let me show you what I mean. You see these two beakers of Lake Tahoe water? Adding just 1 spoonful of storm water clouds the water on the right with very fine particles. Can you still read the sign? This is what flows into the lake every time it rains. The large volume of in Lake Tahoe compared to the small size of the mountain basin or watershed that surrounds it helped to keep Lake Tahoe clear for thousands and thousands of years. Meadows and marshes also helped keep nutrients and fine particles out of the lake because they functioned as filters. Since about 1960, the clarity of Lake Tahoe has decreased, and you can't see as far down as before. It's still beautiful, and it's still clearer than most lakes in the world. But with climate change and other changes, such as wildfire and a changing food web impacting the lake, we risk losing our beautiful clear lake. The research at Lake Tahoe is aimed at restoring both the lake's clarity and the health of the entire ecosystem. What we learn here is also being used at other lakes around the world. Many of the country's top limnologists, that's what people who study lakes are called, started as college graduate students just like me, working right here at Lake Tahoe. Well, speaking of which, I need to get back to work, but stick around to hear about some of the research we do, and maybe I'll see you later on if you visit the lab.
That was fantastic. Heather, that was a great introduction to Lake Tahoe.
Thank you. We love to teach people about Lake Tahoe, and we love to welcome people to this beautiful place. The lake is incredibly famous for being blue. It is one of the bluest, clearest lakes in the world, and it is certainly gorgeous.
And Heather, is an ancient wonder. Lake Tahoe is over 2 million years old, and I think we have a list of facts we can share with the audience. And you can tell us a little bit about how the lake was formed.
Yeah, so Lake Tahoe is over 2 million years old. It is formed by faulting, volcanic activity on the North Shore, and earthquake faults that formed this large basin and left behind the mountain ranges that are on all around the basin that we see. So on the west of us, we can see the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and on the east of us, we can see the Carson range. And those mountain ranges are what go astride or around the Lake Tahoe watershed.
And if you join us back here at the lake, you can see these mountains right behind us. They're absolutely fantastic. This lake gets water from the rain and the snow that surrounds it. At the Public Utility District, we pump that water out of the lake, we run it through our water treatment plant, and we deliver it as drinking water to customers around the lake. And the water is 99.994% clear, which is some of the clearest water in the world, some of the purest water that we're able to provide to our customers around the lake, and that we're able to recreate on and enjoy.
Absolutely. And so we like to make sure that everyone understands the concept of a watershed. So no matter where you live in a watershed. At Lake Tahoe, our watershed is incredibly visible because you can see those mountains around us, and the top of those mountains represent the the boundary of the watershed. So any of the rain or snow that falls on the side of the mountain that we can see from here that go around the lake will eventually make its way into Lake Tahoe. So the definition is an area of land that drains to a common water body. That is what a watershed is.
Two great words for our viewers today. That's limnology, which is the study of lakes, and watersheds. Now you're learning a little bit about this amazing place where we are today here at Lake Tahoe.
And everywhere, so everyone lives in a watershed, but everything you do on the land in the watershed affects the water below it. And so we also like to teach about the stewardship activities and the things that we can do to protect our water, because it is our drinking water.
And Heather, because this is our drinking water and this is this ancient, amazing, beautiful lake, when we talk about how the water is so blue and clear here at Lake Tahoe, how do we measure that? How do we monitor that?
Absolutely. So we use one of the most simple instruments that we use is called a Secchi disc. So it is just a 10-inch white circle, and we lower that into the water and we measure it from the surface of the water down into the water. When it disappears and it goes out of view, that is our Secchi depth measurement. This type of measurement is done all around the world to look at clarity, because everything that happens in the water column above the disc as you're looking down into the water, the algae that's growing, the fine sediment particles that are in the water, those all impact how deep you can see that Secchi disc. And if we go to the next slide, we can see there's a slide that shows the data since 1968. We have been, you can, yep, right there. You can see the boat captain is doing the Secchi disc measurement off of the side of the boat. We always do that measurement on the shadowy side of the boat at solar noon. So when the sun is directly overhead, and that way we can get the best measurement on a flat surface day, never on a wavy day. And then the graph on the left that you see is since the 1960s when we were measuring this Secchi depth every 10 days. And so we take the average of all of those days and we get the annual average Secchi depth for the year. And you can see that we used to be able to see over 100 feet down into the lake. And now we can only see about 65 feet down into the lake. So we've lost about a third of that clarity or transparency. And if we move to the next slide, another way that we measure clarity is by using something called a turbidimeter. So turbidity is just a fancy word for clarity. And what causes clarity changes is that the fine sediment particles that are in stormwater, and in that picture, you can see a big storm event. That happened to be the flood of 1997. We had a flood here. And there was a lot of rain on top of snow, and it washed a lot of the fine sediment out of the watershed, off of the land, and into the lake. And that fine sediment stays suspended in the water for just a little bit. And if we have a low turbidity, that's very clear water. High turbidity means that the water is cloudy or murky and makes it difficult to see through. And we want to keep that clear water at Lake Tahoe so that Lake Tahoe stays blue and clear for us to swim in and to play in and to drink.
And that's right. At the Public Utility District, we deliver millions of gallons of this fresh drinking water through our water system to the community. And if you come back here to the lake, you can see Heather has some examples of this drinking water and then what it looks like when it changes when a storm enters the basin.
So here is just Lake Tahoe water. We grabbed a sample right out of the lake behind us, and this water is as clear, you could barely see the bottle. And then this is urban stormwater. And so this was collected after a storm in a storm drain, and we see how cloudy and dirty or turbid that water is that enters into the lake. And so we want to try to keep that water out of the lake as much as possible so that the lake can remain clear for generations to come.
And one thing we promote here at the Utility District in our partners with UC Davis and all of our other agencies around the lake, the folks delivering the water and also making sure that the storm water that flows into the lake is collected and made sure it doesn't get messed up before it hits the lake. So the utility districts and all of our regional agencies are stewards of this amazing place.
So there are projects along the highway, there are projects at individual homes, there are projects at commercial developments to try to capture that dirty, urban, the polluted stormwater before it gets into the lake to keep the lake clear. Another thing that's causing the loss of clarity is algae, and I'll show a sample here of algae. So there's some algae in this water sample, and we'll go ahead and show you the next two slides. We'll talk a little bit about the different types of algae. So algae is important because it is the base of the food web, but the problem is when we have excessive growth, it changes the color of the lake. Of course, lakes can turn green, and it changes the nearshore environment from being clean and clear and refreshing when you walk in to leaving sometimes that muck or even possibly toxins in the water. So the different types of algae include phytoplankton, which is the single-celled floating algae that you find in the lake, periphyton, which is attached to the rocks, metaphyton, which is a filamentous algae that is not attached to the rocks, but is also not the single-celled. And then there are harmful algal blooms or halves, and those are the worst types. So if we change to the next slide, you can see some pictures of those different types. So the phytoplankton are microscopic. They are tiny little single-celled, and they are the ones floating in the water, and the zooplankton eat those, and they are part of the food web. The periphyton, that next picture, the middle top picture, is attached to rocks. And in places where there is a lot of development or where there are a lot of lawns or gardens that might use a lot of fertilizer. The fertilizer, the nitrogen and phosphorus that people use to grow lawns or grass, is actually also fertilizer to the algae, because algae is just a plant in the water. So it needs those same nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus. We're starting to see more and more of this excessive metaphyton growth. And so metaphyton, the top right picture, that algae is filamentous. It kind of washes on the beach like seaweed. Have you seen any here on the North Shore?
I've seen a little bit, and I think that's a good indicator also of what people are doing here at the lake. If there's folks here that are interested in taking care of the stewardship of the lake, making sure that you understand whether it's algae and whether it's not algae, and you provide these great recreation opportunities.
So the bottom picture shows a filamentous algal bloom, where the water all of a sudden, where you would look out at the bay in a place in Tahoe and normally see blue water, and all of a sudden it looked a little bit fluorescent green. That bottom picture is not a picture of Tahoe, the one that shows the harmful algal bloom. That is an example of a harmful algal bloom at a different lake. And this is the type of algal bloom that we want to make sure does not happen at Lake Tahoe. These harmful algal blooms produce cyanotoxins that can be toxic to animals that drink the water, definitely toxic to humans as well. You wouldn't want to swim in this. You wouldn't want to let your dog play in it or accidentally drink any of it. And so we are hoping that that does not come to Lake Tahoe by reducing the amount of nutrients that flow into the lake and trying to do our best to keep our system clean and clear.
That's right, Heather.
So we can come back to the lake here and
see behind us some of the clean examples of where algae might grow on the beach. And then we're working to protect the lake from these type of things. And thankfully, there's no harmful algal blooms at Lake Tahoe right now. And one of the other things that's really important in stewardship of the land is where the water comes from. And so in Lake Tahoe, as Heather explained earlier, the lake water comes from the watershed. And how does the water get onto the watershed? Through snow and rain. You can see the mountains behind us. They have a little bit less snow than they normally would have this time of year because our rain and snow cycles are changing a little bit. Our drinking water comes from the lake, and there's millions of gallons of water, but the lake has to be filled up, and it fills up through rain and snow.
yeah, so that watershed, the rain and snow that falls on the mountains and eventually makes its way into Lake Tahoe. We have 63 streams that flow in, and then there is one that exits the Truckee River, and there is a dam that holds back the top 6 feet, so as tall as Justin here. The top 6 feet of water is a reservoir for downstream water users. We are now just a foot above the natural rim, and when the water evaporates this summer to the point that it goes below the natural rim, there will no longer be any water flowing out of the Truckee River at the dam available for those downstream water users. In the winter season, we largely have snow coming down, and that snow releases its water slowly as the snow melts. When the rain comes, it actually just rains and flows and makes its way directly into the lake. And so, of course, the rain can cause more of that urban stormwater than the snow does. So that's that dirty, turbid water that we were talking about.
And
so,
Heather, is the rain coming more? Are we having more snow or more rain? What are we looking at?
yeah, so we're going to go to a slide now that talks about how we are seeing less snow and more rain as a result of climate change here at Lake Tahoe. So over the last over 110 years, we have been measuring temperatures at Lake Tahoe, and we are seeing that our minimum average daily temperature has increased by 4 degrees Fahrenheit. That is from an average of about 28 degrees to an average of about 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And everyone knows what 32 degrees Fahrenheit means. What does that mean, Justin?
Freezing, right?
Yes, that is the difference between whether the water is frozen or not frozen. And so as we are crossing that 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degree Fahrenheit line, we are seeing more of our precipitation coming as rain, less as snow. And that means that we don't have the storage of the snowpack releasing that water slowly in the seasons. We don't have the lake filling as much because it's released and then it moves on down the line. And so that diminishing snowpack, which is the next slide, what we see is that snow is really variable. We can have a really big winter, we can have a really small winter, we can have a really big winter and a really small winter. The red line shows how this is from a snow station that's at 7,700 feet. This is actually at the base of Headwall. So in Palisades, Tahoe, one of the ski areas near here. And in the 1960s, we would see about 100 feet of snow on average. And that has slowly decreased to about 80 feet over the past 60 years. But we are expecting that to go down even further, down to only, it's in inches, down to 20 inches of snow by 2100. And that would mean you could no longer ski there. However, if you see the green line, it might be a little harder to see. That is if we do something. If we all act to reduce our carbon emissions, we actually can make a difference for snowpack here. So anything that we can do, the goal is to get every American to reduce their carbon emissions by 1 ton per year. That sounds like a huge amount. It's actually not that hard.
How do you do that?
There are things you can do, simple things. You can have a couple meatless meals each week. And so if you choose to have meatless meals instead of having meat at every meal, that can save a half a ton of carbon if you do that over the entire year. You can carpool or take your bike or walk to work or to the places that you go. You can do the simple things like changing your light bulbs. In some places, you could be planting trees. Here we have plenty of trees. I think we're removing trees. And so there are a lot of things we can all do to reduce carbon. And we have on our website our Save Our Snow campaign, where we're trying to tell people all the things that we can do to protect our winter sports into the future.
And that's a great message and transition right to our water conservation messaging that the public utility districts across the state of California are promoting. Because not only can you reduce your carbon footprint and help save our snow, you can reduce your water use and help save our lakes and our river systems throughout the state of California. So right now here in North Lake Tahoe, we are on restricted watering days. So we ask our residents to water on odd and even days. And if you live elsewhere in California, you have different watering restrictions. Be sure to check with your local public utility district on your watering restrictions. And it's not just California that's in drought. The entire west coast of the United States is looking at drought conditions, and drought doesn't just affect our region. It also stretches throughout the United States and other areas of the world. So make sure you're being water wise when you're irrigating your lawn, and make sure that you're not wasting water in any way around your home, because water is a critical resource. And here at Lake Tahoe, not only do we protect the water, we reduce our carbon footprint, we also protect the watershed from all kinds of pollution and all kinds of other things that unfortunately humans generate when they visit this area. And so what are some of the other ways that we protect the watershed, Heather?
Yeah, so because it is our drinking water, we really want to promote, we have a huge campaign, which is the Drink Tahoe Tap campaign. And so this is a reusable water bottle that you can buy at the grocery stores here or anywhere. And by using a reusable water bottle, we are having less plastic and more good. Plastic is a #1 pollutant in our region in terms of what we find on the beach. So I just went down on the beach, and in 30 seconds, I grabbed a pile of plastic off of the beach. And so if you happen to be walking on the beach, please grab the plastic while it's still easy to pick up.
And Heather, that's the big plastic. I think we have a slide and we have an example. We'll do the example first.
Yes,
And
so
so
let
what
me
else?
show you.
What other kinds of plastics are there?
Yes, so these are considered microplastics. So when it breaks down to something about the size of a grain of rice, so 5 millimeters or smaller, then it is considered a microplastic. And those are much, much harder to clean up because they're harder to pick up. So let's see if we can see those colorful pieces there in the petri dish. And so
You can
microplastics.
see those on the slide, I think, too.
Yeah, so if you want to switch to that next slide, that has the microplastics on it. So microplastics. So every molecule of plastic ever produced still exists.
Wow, really?
Yes. So the thing about plastic is that it was designed to last forever. It is very handy. We need it for medical purposes. There are reasons to use plastic, and there are important ways that plastic is necessary to us, but we need to stop using single-use plastic items, especially those single-use plastic water bottles. Here at Lake Tahoe, we have the cleanest, purest water in the world. It wins awards for being amazing tasting, and we don't want people buying those stupid single-use plastic water bottles that then pollute the lake, break up into these tiny microplastics, end up in our drinking water, and it is a vicious cycle of what just doesn't even make sense at all. The water in those plastic water bottles is less regulated than the water coming out of your tap.
And you can do your part by helping to protect Lake Tahoe and help us take care of Lake Tahoe by buying a reusable water bottle when you come to the lake and filling it with some of the North Tahoe Public Utility District's fresh Tahoe tap water right out of your tap here at Lake Tahoe. Don't need to bring water, drinking water, when you come to the basin.
And the next slide. And then if you do have any kind of trash or plastic or anything, recycle it, put it in the bear-proof bins. We need to have people taking care of their trash and helping us take care of Lake Tahoe. Trash is a number one problem here on our beaches, in our waters. We're finding, we're definitely finding trash everywhere, and people just need to be more careful. So help us pick it up. So if you're at the beach, you can make it a fun activity to go around and pick up as many pieces of the plastic or any kind of trash that you can. Of course, be careful with what you pick up and put it into the bear-proof containers. We need to make sure that the bears don't get into the trash as well, because they can become problem bears. And kind of the rule is that a fed bear is a dead bear. Once they start eating human trash, then that's all they want to eat. And then they become a problem bear. And then sometimes they have to be killed, and you don't want to be the reason that you got the bear killed.
And that's a great thing to mention as well. Not only can you walk and make a game and pick up trash on the beach, but you can also use some of our amazing citizen science tools to help us and our researchers and the utility district find more information about this place. We have a great Citizen Science Tahoe app, and we have new Agents of Discovery Explore Tahoe apps here in Tahoe Vista, where you can follow agents and do amazing lessons and missions and challenges to learn about and explore this beautiful place.
Yeah, so the Citizen Science app, we are asking everyone to learn a little bit more about the lake, about the water clarity, about algae, also track where there are trash hotspots. And so you can download the app. It is available at citizensciencetahoe.org. You download the app, and then you can tell us what the water looks like, places that you visit around Lake Tahoe, what the algae looks like, and then also if you see trash anywhere. And so we need more eyes on the lake, and we're hoping that people can partner with us. So UC Davis, the League to Save Lake Tahoe, the Desert Institute, and the North Tahoe Public Utility District, we all work together to collect this data, and then the scientists are able to use that information and also to coordinate cleanup days around the lake to help keep it looking pristine and beautiful.
And while you're here, you can check out NorthTahoeRecreation.com for all of those tips on conservation and where to go and explore this beautiful place and help us take care of this ancient wonder, which is just an amazing place to be.
So thanks for visiting us here at Lake Tahoe. If you come see us in person, you can come visit the UC Davis Tahoe Science Center and learn more. You can find us at TahoeScienceCenter.org, and you can check out some of our other videos and content on our YouTube channel. So that's UC Davis Tahoe.
And thanks for joining us at Lake Tahoe today.
Wow, thank you guys so much. So I do have a question. So you guys were talking about climate change and the environment changing. What's going to happen to Lake Tahoe while that change happens?
That's a really good question. On the utility district side, we are going to keep delivering drinking water from the lake. And Heather, what does the research say about Lake Tahoe?
We have things that we are concerned about. We're concerned about the loss of clarity, our loss of environmental projects that are being installed to try to protect the community. There are also ecological solutions that we intake, there is a unnamed mysis shrimp that was introduced into the lake. By removing some of those mysis shrimp, it can allow the native zooplankton to have less of less preying on it. And if those native zooplankton called Daphnia, which are absolutely adorable little tiny zooplankton, just about 1 millimeter tall, they eat up the algae, they accidentally eat up the sediment, and they help keep the lake clear. So that clarity is definitely one concern. Climate change is another. And so we hope that everyone will do what they can to reduce carbon emissions. But climate change is a concern for the warming lake temperature and what that means for algae growth. So we're keeping a very close eye on the algae.
And I think what you said, Heather, I think the future of the lake, Sarah, depends on the future of the people. And so folks can take care of the lake, and then it'll be here for generations.
Wow, thank you guys so much. So is Lake Tahoe always going to have fresh drinking water in it?
Yes, the North Tahoe Public Utility District and all of our utility districts, they draw water from the lake and they draw water from wells that feed from the aquifers around the lake, and it'll be the purest water for as long as we're around.
It's 40
Perfect.
gallons of water. There is a lot of water. And so it is definitely a huge water source and a definite benefit to our region.
Thank you guys so much. Lake Tahoe is definitely a site worth seeing. As we end our stream today, I want to thank you guys for joining us today and those who are finding this video a little bit later down the road. I, of course, want to give a special thank you to Justin and Heather for joining us and giving us some awesome information and history and the importance of Lake Tahoe. If you like today's program, please give us some support by giving us a thumbs up under this video. You can also check out our YouTube page to see all of our previous live streams. If you would like to know what we have coming up in the future, be sure to subscribe. Our next stream will be on August 22nd with Tierra, Cook Islands Museum of Cultural Enterprise. As we end our stream today, I want to remind everyone to make an impact, always connect with nature, and I'll see you guys next time.